You hand the cashier 2 crisp 20s for a dinner that costs $38. You wait for the change. You feel it. Something small and uncomfortable, somewhere behind your ribs. The weight of what just left your hands. Now imagine tapping your phone against the same reader. The dinner costs the same, but that sensation, it's almost entirely gone. Same meal, same price, 2 completely different psychological experiences. And because of that difference, you will probably order dessert. This is the pain of paying, and once you understand it, you will see it operating in almost every financial decision you make. Not just what you buy, but how you feel buying it, and why the method of payment you reach for matters far more than you have ever been told. The story begins in 1996 at Carnegie Mellon University, where a PhD student named Ofer Zellermayer was trying to explain something that economists had long overlooked. Standard economic models assumed that a dollar is a dollar, regardless of how it changes hands. What you paid with shouldn't matter, only what you paid. But Zellermayer noticed it did matter, profoundly. When people handed over physical cash, they reported feeling something distinctly unpleasant, a kind of small emotional sting. When they paid by card or by deferred systems, that sting diminished. He called this phenomenon the pain of paying. The concept caught the attention of his supervisor, a psychologist and behavioral economist named George Lowenstein, one of the most important figures in the science of how emotions shape financial decisions. Lowenstein recognized that what Zellermayer had found wasn't just a curiosity. It was a fundamental mechanism of human financial behavior, one that the credit card industry had been quietly exploiting for decades without ever naming it. The reason cash hurts and plastic doesn't comes down to a property that Lowenstein and his collaborator Drazen Prelec, a professor at MIT's Sloan School of Management, would later call coupling. Coupling describes how tightly linked the act of payment feels to the act of consumption. When you pull bills from your wallet, the connection is immediate and visceral. You see the money leave, you feel its absence. The payment and the pleasure arrive in the same moment, and your brain registers one against the other. The $38 dinner is experienced not just as food, but as $38 of food right now, leaving your possession right now. That simultaneity is uncomfortable. It creates a small tax on the pleasure of spending, and this tax, Zellermayer found, actually functions as a brake on your behavior. The pain of paying is not a glitch, it is a feature. It is your brain's evolved mechanism for keeping you from hemorrhaging resources. Credit cards do something elegant and devastating to that brake. They sever the coupling. When you swipe or tap, there is no immediate outflow. The money doesn't visibly leave. The bill comes weeks later, bundled with dozens of other charges, each one made abstract by time and distance. The dinner doesn't cost $38 anymore, not in the moment you feel it. It costs a vague, future, diffuse obligation that your brain finds almost impossible to process with the same emotional clarity as physical cash. Prelec and Lowenstein described this in their 1998 paper in Marketing Science as a break in the psychological coupling between consumption and payment. And they argued it was responsible for a substantial and measurable increase in spending. To measure just how large that increase was, Prelec teamed up with his MIT colleague Duncan Simester in 2001 for one of the most striking experiments in the behavioral economics of money. They ran a sealed bid auction for tickets to sold-out sporting events, games that were genuinely hard to get, with real value that participants couldn't easily look up. The experiment had one crucial variation. Half the participants were told they could only bid using cash, and the other half were told they could only bid using credit cards. That's it. The product was identical. The auction rules were identical. The only difference was the payment method. The results were not subtle. People bidding with credit cards were willing to pay, on average, nearly twice as much as people bidding with cash. Twice. For the same seat at the same game on the same night. The abstract nature of card payment had dissolved in real time a substantial portion of the financial self-regulation that would otherwise have kept those bids in check. Dilip Soman, a researcher at the University of Toronto, pursued this question from a different angle. Rather than asking how much people would pay, he asked how much they could remember about what they had already spent. In a 2001 study published in the Journal of Consumer Research, Soman interviewed shoppers shortly after they made purchases and asked them to recall the amount they had spent. People who had paid with cash were strikingly accurate. People who had paid with credit cards significantly underestimated how much they had spent. This was not a minor discrepancy. Card users' recall of their own spending was meaningfully worse, and this impaired recall then predicted higher future spending. If you can't feel the money leaving, and you can't even accurately remember how much has left, you have lost two of the most important internal checks your brain uses to regulate financial behavior. The result Soman described was a kind of financial fog, what the research literature now sometimes calls the coupling gap. Then, in 2007, a team of neuroscientists and economists from Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, and MIT decided to stop asking people what they felt and simply look inside their brains while they spent money. Brian Knudsen at Stanford, working alongside Scott Rick, Lowenstein, and Prelec, recruited participants, placed them inside fMRI scanners, gave them real cash, and showed them products at various prices. Some prices were reasonable, some were excessive. As participants evaluated whether to buy, the researchers watched their brain activity in real time. What they found was published in the journal Neuron and remains one of the most widely cited findings in the neuroscience of financial decision-making. When participants saw products they wanted, the nucleus accumbens lit up, the region of the brain associated with anticipating reward and pleasure. But when prices seemed excessive, when spending crossed some internal threshold into territory that felt like a genuine loss, a different region activated instead, the anterior insula. The insula is the same structure that processes physical pain, burning your hand, tasting something rotten, social rejection. And the moment that region fired, purchase rates dropped sharply. The fMRI scans predicted buying behavior almost as well as simply asking people what they intended to do. The pain was not metaphorical, it was neurological. What happens when you remove that pain? Knudsen and Prelec noted in the same paper that the abstract nature of credit coupled with deferred payment could, in their word, anesthetize consumers against the pain of paying. Every innovation in payment technology since has been, in essence, a more effective delivery system for that anesthetic. Contactless payment takes 0.2 of a second and requires no PIN, no signature, no conscious pause. Mobile wallets make the transaction feel less like spending money and more like unlocking a door. Subscription billing removes the payment moment entirely. You agreed once, months ago, and now the charge appears automatically, already blended into a list of other charges, mostly unexamined. We talk about people who overspend with cards as though they have a self-control problem, as though they lack discipline, as though the person who comes home with bags full of things they didn't plan to buy is somehow weaker than they should be. But Prelec and Lowenstein were clear. The system has been deliberately designed to reduce the very sensation that makes self-regulation possible. The pain of paying is not a character flaw, it is the mechanism. When the mechanism is suppressed, spending goes up every time across every demographic studied, across 3 decades of research in multiple countries. You are not undisciplined. You are operating in an environment that has been carefully engineered to neutralize your financial nervous system. Think about the last time you paid for something with cash. There is a specific texture to that transaction. Counting the bills, the pause, the waiting for change. Now think about the last time you tapped your card and walked away before the receipt had even printed. The second experience feels like almost nothing. That almost nothing is the entire game. Every subscription you've forgotten you're paying for lives in that gap. Every round of online shopping that felt abstract until the package arrived, lives there. Every restaurant meal that felt cheaper than it was. Every upgrade you agreed to without quite registering the cost, all of it happens in the space where the pain of paying used to be, and through design, no longer is. Your brain has not changed. The mechanism Zellermayer identified in 1996 is the same one your great-grandmother used when she opened her coin purse. The pain of paying evolved over tens of thousands of years to make loss feel like loss, to make the physical departure of a resource feel like something worth noticing, worth weighing. What has changed is everything around it. The payment system has been redesigned across every touchpoint to make that feeling disappear, and a feeling that no longer fires cannot do the job it was built to do. You don't have a spending problem, you have a painkiller problem. The anesthetic works exactly as intended, and you are the patient who was never told what was in the drip.